Okay, hello everyone. Here we are for another volunteer spotlight. I'm here with Trish, who is another one of our site coordinators this year. So let's get started. First, Trish, where are you from?
I've been living in Philly for 15 years, but I'm originally from New York.
Okay. And for how long have you been with Experience Corps?
This is my second year with Experience Corps.
And what made you start with Experience Corps?
Many years ago, I lived in Brazil and I was teacher, and then I became the pedagogical coordinator for the school at Berlitz. I taught adults how to speak English, and I taught the teachers how to teach. And I loved that job. And, I wanted to give back to the community. And I had seen the ad in the Metro newspaper. And there was you could call up, and then they had an information session. I went there, and I thought it would be really an interesting thing to do. I like to read. I like to give. I love kids. I would love for them to be able to have a love for reading as well. I think you need it for everything in your life, whether it be contracts you're going to sign up for, or paying a bill. You need to read. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a big reader yourself?
I wouldn't say a big reader, but yeah, I like to read. Okay. I do like to read.
Yeah. And what has been your favorite part about volunteering with Experience Corps?
Just seeing how, as the children progress, seeing how that builds up their self-esteem and their ability to read, that they go from struggling to being excited to read the books. And of course, they're doing better in school, in their classes, whether it be in an English class or a history class, whatever kind of class that they have. And yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then do you have any good stories from your time volunteering without mentioning any student names?
Oh, yeah, I could give you a lot of stories. One, when I was tutoring last year, I found that I have a special affinity for extremely difficult students. The ones that crawl under the table, they can't sit still, they can't concentrate. And I do really well with them, actually. And we had one of the other volunteers had a student that she was having a lot of trouble with, and he wasn't really making any progress. And I said to her, well, let me try with him. And I had heard at one of my team meetings that sometimes kids need to stand up. So I found out when he stood up, he was a great reader. And I used what they call dramatic reading with him to make whatever it was sound exciting, unusual, like say the blue marlin spears the fish. And yeah, and he got very excited, and all of a sudden he started to go from one book to another book to another book, and his fluency, his teacher would grade their fluency every month. She'd give him a test, see how many words per minute they would do, and his fluency just went up, like this month, 20 words a minute, so it was, yeah. He turned out to be one of the success stories, and it was wonderful mentoring them as well, getting to know them, their struggles. Yeah, it was great.
That's great. And then how has volunteering with Experience Corps been personally beneficial to you?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, makes me feel useful, that I'm giving back to society in some way. And I would say, and I've also made some really good relationships with the other volunteers.
Yeah. So going off of that, what is your relationship with the Experience Corps community, be it other volunteers or staff, without using any volunteer names?
Okay, sure. So I still stay in touch. We did all through the summer, about every week, with the volunteers that were under me when I was a team leader last year. A couple of those volunteers, I asked if they could be in my school that I was assigned to this year. I also, of course, stay in touch with the administrators at AARP. I can say that the training is wonderful. They give you all kinds of support. And, I was a little reluctant maybe to do the virtual tutoring because I'm a technologically disadvantaged dinosaur. And they give you lots of help. So that's a great thing. And they encourage you and they're patient with you. So yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned this upcoming year about virtual tutoring. What do you think about tutoring virtually this year?
Okay, so tutoring virtually this year, what I've seen so far is that it is challenging. I thought the biggest problem was going to be that the students wouldn't be able to concentrate. They have other people in the house, noises going on. I don't see that as a problem at all from what I've noticed. What I see as the problem is that the kids don't always have the books. So that, you have to work around that. You have to hold the book up, make sure that they can see it. It has some challenges to it. You really don't get to know them as on that personal basis as when you're in school. I used to walk with my kids from the classroom to where we did the tutoring, and along that walk, you'd say, how was your weekend? What happened? What did you do? Oh, my new baby sister had me up all night, whatever it was. So, yeah, you can ask them virtually, but I don't think it's the same. Yeah.
And then this year you're a site coordinator. What made you want to take that step up in responsibility?
Well, the site coordinator is in many ways, it's very similar to a team leader. There are some changes, some difficulties, but knowing that I have all of the support that from them, I didn't question it at all. Yeah, and I also know that, like, people have their medical appointments or they're sick, whatever happens, that I would fill in and I would still be able to tutor sometimes, which is a great thing too, because I like that.
Yeah. And last question about Experience Corps. Would you recommend volunteering with Experience Corps to other people who are over 50?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They work with you, whether you want to volunteer 2 days a week, 3 days a week, if you have appointments or you can't make it or you early. Yeah, they're very supportive. They're very flexible. And so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Makes it easy.
Yeah.
And
all
of
right,
course,
so,
when there's no school, we don't have school. And there are half days of school. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just asking some questions about you. What do you like to do in your free time?
Okay, well, I'm still doing what I've always liked to do is I walk the dog with my husband. But now that I'm retired and, we're in the house a lot, I love to read. My husband and I, we read the Puritans together. And we spend a few hours a day doing that. And that's what I do in my spare time. And of course, I've gained a little weight in my spare time.
Okay. And then What's your favorite place to visit in Philadelphia?
Oh man, there's so many. Of course, I said I've gained a little weight, not only for lack of exercise, but I like to eat. So I would say Reading Terminal, the Italian Market. But there's so much to see and do in Philadelphia. We have a list. We've been to some museums. We love the arts. But a lot of stuff is closed right now. So yeah, I'd like to still go to we want to go to Edgar Allan Poe House, the Bach Center. There's just so much to do in Philly, and it's all great.
Yeah. And then last question, you mentioned reading. Have you found any other pandemic or socially distant activities?
Other than reading, walking the dog, cooking, I would say no.
Okay.
But one thing, just to go back for a minute, one thing I do have to say is that if I were, for example, chose to go to New York to visit my kids, I could take my Chromebook with me and I can still do my tutoring virtually. So that's a huge plus. But I'm not going anywhere right now with the pandemic.
Yeah. All right. Well, Trish, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. We're so glad to have you in our program.